Hi, all right, my name is Kate Bobak-Lavick. I'm the historian for OSPA, and let me get rid of this. I'm here to talk to you today about Pauline Alexander. She was the founding member of the National Association of School Psychologists and its first president. She was also president of OSPA in 1967, and she recently passed away in February. From her obituary, Polly died peacefully in her sleep on Saturday, February 23rd, 2013, after battling Alzheimer's for many years. She was a renowned school psychologist and family therapist. She worked for the Ohio Schools for the Blind and Deaf, the Franklin County Board of Higher Education, and for 30 years for the Delaware City Schools. She also had a private practice in Worthington. Polly published numerous articles and received many professional awards. She produced 2 television series for WOSU-TV in the 60s to help teachers deal with mental health issues and learning disorder issues. And we would like to take a few moments to remember the contributions that Polly made to the field of school psychology through 2 vignettes provided by those who knew her. And here with me today is Nadine Block, another famous name in school psychology and winner of the Clyde V. Bartlett Award in 1991, and Polly's friend and colleague among many other accomplishments. And as many of you may know, Nadine served as the governmental liaison for OSPA for the 13 years prior to Ann Brennan, our executive director, assumed that same role. So I'll invite Nadine to come up and she can share a couple vignettes about Polly for you.
Thank you, Kate. I have many fond memories of OSPA and certainly many fond memories of Polly. I knew her for over 30 years, and if you knew Polly, you were probably going to be involved in something she was doing, and she was really a great cheerleader for a lot of things. I worked with her on Support for Talented Students, STS. Support for Talented Students was begun in 1983 to provide opportunities for gifted and talented children who needed some kinds of things outside of the schools that their parents couldn't afford. And it might be something like math instruction or summer educational camps in science, or it might be lessons, musical lessons, or art, acting. But it was kind of a natural extension of what Polly was doing as a school psychologist in Delaware City Schools, and Carolyn Fleming, who was the gifted coordinator. They would come across children who needed opportunities, and they would go in the community or they'd come to their friends and ask them to support those. So we began, she asked a couple of our friends to help her start this organization, and I happened to be one of them. So we first started the organization, and then we trained school psychologists and counselors and gifted coordinators to fill out the application forms. And we began to get, the requests keeps streaming in and still do. Many of these kids grew up to become leaders in academia, and they became artists and musicians and so on. And they would often write us these heartwarming letters that showed that they really loved being recognized and being supported in their talents and in their hard work. So Polly was the driver, the person who was just so enthusiastic. We would serve so many children. We would, all over the world, this will grow. And she was right in that 250,000 Ohio school children have gotten scholarships from Support for Talented Students. And some of you may remember George Fichter, who was the gifted consultant for the Department of Education back 10 or 20 years ago, and he is the current chair. And finally, I'd like to read his story, that was shared by Alex Thomas, who was the OSPA president in 1979 and 1993. And he said, Polly was an indomitable spirit who I came to know when I was in the second inning and she was in the ninth inning of our careers. She and Nadine Block had started an initiative in the early 1980s to provide support or services for gifted students in the Columbus area and lobbied me as a brand new NASP delegate to get NASP to create an umbrella 501c3 where such initiatives for kids could receive tax-exempt contribution status. As brand new delegate to big NASP, I was reluctant to go down that path. But having Polly advocate in front of you quickly dissipated my concerns. She was not intimidating, but fervent and usually correct. My first motion in NASP governments, in my recollection, was the creation of an umbrella group which eventually became what is now the Children's Fund. Without her initial advocacy, insistence, and spirit, the Children's Fund would not likely have been created until years later. Thank you for your attention, and I hope that you will carry with you Polly's enthusiasm, her can-do spirit, into all the work, the important work that you are doing for Ohio's children and families. Thank you.